Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about something that most men might never say out loud, but deeply desire in their relationships, especially in the bedroom. Now, I know this might sound like a tricky topic to dive into, but let's take it slow, shall we? Because the truth is, men have needs too, not just physical needs, but emotional ones as well. When we talk about relationships and intimacy, there's often this misconception that men are simple, that their needs in a relationship revolve solely around physical intimacy. But the truth is, men have emotional needs just as deep and complex as anyone else. They may not always express them openly, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. One of the most overlooked desires that men have, especially when it comes to intimacy, is the need to feel emotionally connected to their partner. See, men are conditioned from a young age to believe that showing emotion is a sign of weakness. They grow up hearing things like man up, don't cry, or be tough. And by the time they reach adulthood, many have learned to suppress their emotions rather than express them. Society has taught them that their value is based on their ability to provide, protect, and perform, not on their ability to be vulnerable. And this belief follows them into their relationships. They may not always know how to say it, but what they truly crave is a safe space where they can be themselves without judgment. A space where they can let their guard down and just be. In intimacy, emotional connection is everything. It's not just about physical pleasure. It's about feeling wanted, feeling understood, feeling like they are more than just their ability to perform. When a man feels emotionally connected to his partner, everything changes. He becomes more open, more engaged, and more willing to express his needs and desires. He's not just there for the act itself. He's there for the experience, the bond, the closeness that makes intimacy so much more meaningful. Men often show love differently than women. While women may express love through words, affection, and emotional gestures, men often express it through action. They may not always say, I need to feel close to you emotionally, but they will show it in ways that sometimes go unnoticed. When he holds you a little longer after a long day, when he remembers the little details that matter to you, when he makes sure you're comfortable before thinking of himself, that's his way of expressing his need for emotional intimacy. He's seeking a connection beyond words, a silent understanding that says, I see you, and I want you to see me too. When men don't feel emotionally connected, they start to withdraw. It's not always intentional, but it happens. Maybe he seems distant. Maybe he's not as engaged in conversations. Maybe intimacy feels different. It's not always because he's lost interest. It could be because he doesn't feel that deeper connection anymore. And when that connection fades, everything else starts to follow. Men need to feel like they are not just providers or protectors, but partners in a relationship that values them for who they are, not just what they can offer. There's a misconception that men are always confident in the bedroom, that they never have doubts or insecurities. But let me tell you, men worry about being enough just as much as women do. They wonder if they are desirable, if they are meeting their partner's needs, if they are still wanted in the same way they once were. And the way to ease those doubts isn't just through physical intimacy, it's through emotional reassurance. It's through knowing that they are not just wanted for a moment, but valued for who they are. One of the most powerful things a woman can do for her man is to create a space where he feels emotionally safe, a space where he doesn't have to be the strong one all the time, where he doesn't have to have all the answers, where he can let his guard down without fear of being judged. When a man feels that kind of emotional security, he gives more, he loves deeper, and he becomes more present in the relationship. Emotional connection isn't built overnight. And it doesn't come from grand gestures. It's built in the little things. It's in the way you listen when he talks about his day, even when he doesn't say much. It's in the way you notice when something is bothering him, even when he won't admit it. It's in the way you make him feel seen, heard, and appreciated. Sometimes men struggle to put their emotions into words. They might not always know how to express their need for connection, but they will show it in ways that aren't always obvious. If he's making an effort to spend more time with you, if he's initiating conversations, if he's opening up about things that matter to him, these are all signs that he's looking for something deeper than just physical intimacy. He's looking for a bond that makes him feel safe, valued, and emotionally fulfilled. The mistake many people make in relationships is assuming that love is enough to sustain connection. But love without emotional connection can start to feel empty. It's not enough to just love someone. You have to nurture the bond that keeps that love alive. And for men, that bond is often built through feeling emotionally understood. In intimacy, an emotional connection can turn a simple moment into something unforgettable. It's not just about passion, it's about presence. When a man feels truly connected to his partner, he is more engaged, more attentive, and more willing to be vulnerable. It's no longer just about the physical act. It becomes an experience that deepens the relationship, one that brings two people closer in ways that words can't always explain. Men won't always tell you this, but they long to be seen beyond their physicality. They want to be loved for who they are, not just what they can do. They want to know that their emotions matter, that their fears and insecurities are heard, that their need for connection is just as important as their need for passion. When we talk about what men want in a relationship, especially in intimacy, people often assume it's all about physical needs, but men, just like women, crave something deeper, something they may not always express openly. They want to feel emotionally connected to their partner. They want to know that beyond the passion and physicality, there is a foundation of understanding, trust, and closeness. The need for emotional connection is not just something women desire, it is a fundamental part of what makes intimacy meaningful for men as well. Men are often taught from a young age that expressing emotions makes them weak. They grow up hearing that real men don't cry, that they have to be strong at all times, that vulnerability is a flaw rather than a strength. Over time, they learn to suppress their emotions rather than express them. But just because a man doesn't always say what he needs doesn't mean he doesn't feel it deeply. He still wants to be understood, to feel safe, to know that the person he shares his life with sees beyond his exterior and values him for who he truly is in intimacy. Emotional connection makes all the difference. It's not just about the act itself. It's about feeling a bond, an unspoken understanding that goes beyond words. When a man feels emotionally connected to his partner, it changes everything. He becomes more engaged, more open, more willing to express himself. He's not just present physically, he's invested emotionally. And when that emotional connection is lacking, it can leave him feeling distant, even if he doesn't fully understand why. Men may not always express their emotions in the way women do. While women often verbalize their feelings, men tend to show love through actions. When he remembers the little things that make you happy, when he checks in on you, when he makes an effort to be present in your life, those are all signs of emotional connection. He may not always say, "I need to feel close to you," but his actions will reveal it. The key is recognizing that even if he doesn't verbalize his need for emotional connection, it's still there. When men don't feel emotionally connected, they start to withdraw. It might not happen suddenly, but over time, you'll notice a change. Maybe he seems distant. Maybe he's not as engaged in conversations. Maybe something feels off in the relationship. Often this isn't because he's lost interest, it's because he doesn't feel that deeper connection anymore. And when that connection starts to fade, it affects everything. Men want to feel like they are more than just a provider, more than just a protector, more than just someone fulfilling a role. They want to feel like a partner, like their emotions matter just as much as their actions. But here's the part most people don't realize. Men also need reassurance. They may not ask for it outright, but deep down they crave it. They want to know that they are wanted, that they are appreciated, that they are still the one who makes your heart race. Society often portrays men as confident, self-assured, and always secure in themselves. But that's not the whole truth. Men have insecurities too. They wonder if they are enough, if they are still attractive to you, if they are still the man you desire. And just like anyone else, they need to hear it. A simple compliment, an unexpected expression of appreciation, a touch that says, I see you and I love you. These things matter more than people realize. Men might not always admit it, but they need to feel desired just as much as women do. They want to know that they are more than just a routine part of your life, that the spark is still there, that they still make you feel the way they once did. In intimacy, reassurance plays an even bigger role than most people think. A man wants to feel like he is doing something right, that he is meeting your needs, that he is still the one who excites you. But if he never hears it, doubts start to creep in. He may begin to wonder if he's losing his appeal, if you stop seeing him the way you used to, if he's somehow falling short. And when a man starts to feel that way, it can create a distance that has nothing to do with love and everything to do with self-doubt. Men don't need grand gestures to feel reassured. It's the little things that matter most. A touch that lingers just a little longer, a look that says, I still choose you, a whispered word of appreciation. They remind him that he is more than just someone you share a life with. He is someone you still desire, someone you still admire, someone who still has the power to make your heart skip a beat. And this need for reassurance doesn't just apply to the physical aspect of a relationship. Men want to know that they are valued beyond what they can provide. They need to hear that they are good partners, that their efforts are seen, that they are doing something right. Too often, men are expected to be strong without needing any acknowledgement. But the truth is, even the strongest man wants to know that he is appreciated. A simple thank you, a word of encouragement, a recognition of his efforts. It may seem small, but to a man, it means everything. The reality is, when men feel emotionally connected and reassured, they give more. They become more open, more affectionate, more willing to express themselves. They stop holding back because they know they are safe, they know they are wanted, they know they are appreciated. When a man feels that kind of security in a relationship, he thrives. He loves harder, he commits deeper, and he becomes the best version of himself. Men may not always say these things out loud, but if you listen closely, you'll see it in the way they show up for you. They want to feel close. They want to feel wanted. They want to know that they still matter to you in the way they once did. And when they have that, when they feel that emotional connection and that reassurance, everything else falls into place. There is a common misconception that men are simple when it comes to relationships and intimacy, that their needs revolve only around physical desire, and that they do not crave deeper emotional fulfillment. But the truth is, men want to feel connected to their partners on an emotional level just as much as women do. They may not always express it in the same way, but that does not mean the need is not there. A man wants to feel like he is more than just a provider, more than just someone fulfilling a role. He wants to feel like he is truly seen, truly valued, and truly understood. From a young age, men are taught to suppress their emotions. They are told to be strong, to never show weakness, to avoid vulnerability at all costs. They carry these lessons into adulthood, often struggling to express what they feel because they have spent a lifetime being told that emotions are not for them. But deep down, they still crave that emotional connection, that sense of security that comes from knowing their partner truly understands them. They want to be able to express their fears, their worries, and their struggles without judgment. They want to know that they are not just loved for what they do, but for who they are in intimacy. This emotional connection is everything. It is not just about physical pleasure. It is about trust. about feeling wanted, about knowing that the bond goes deeper than just the surface. When a man feels emotionally connected to his partner, he is more engaged, more present, and more willing to open up. He does not just want to be desired, he wants to be understood. And when that connection is missing, he may start to withdraw, not because he does not care, but because something vital feels incomplete. Men also need reassurance, even if they never ask for it outright. There is a belief that men are always confident, always secure, always certain of themselves. But the reality is they have doubts just like anyone else. They wonder if they are still attractive to their partner, if they are still enough, if they are still wanted in the way they once were. They may not always voice these insecurities, but they feel them just the same. And just like anyone else, they need to hear that they are appreciated, that they are desired, that they are still the one their partner chooses every day. A simple compliment, a gesture of affection, a word of encouragement. These things matter more than people realize. Men may not always seek verbal affirmation, but when they receive it, it makes a difference. It reassures them that they are not just going through the motions of a relationship, but that their presence truly matters, that he is admired, that he is appreciated. He carries himself differently. He becomes more engaged, more affectionate, more open. He no longer has to wonder if he is enough because he feels it in the way his partner treats him. This need for reassurance extends beyond just the physical aspects of a relationship. A man wants to know that he is doing something right, that his efforts are noticed, that his contributions are valued. Too often, men are expected to be strong without ever needing acknowledgement. But even the strongest man wants to feel appreciated. A simple thank you, a recognition of his efforts, a reminder that his hard work is not taken for granted. These small gestures go a long way. They make him feel valued, respected, and secure in the relationship. And respect is one of the most important things a man desires in a relationship. It is not just about admiration. It is about feeling like his opinions, his efforts, and his presence are valued. A man who feels respected by his partner stands taller, loves deeper, and gives more of himself. Respect is not about submission, it is about appreciation. It is about recognizing his strengths, acknowledging his efforts, and making him feel like he is a true partner in the relationship. Men want to feel like their thoughts and feelings matter. They want to be heard, to be taken seriously, to know that their opinions are valued. They may not always express things in the same way women do, but that does not mean they do not have emotions that run just as deep. When a man speaks, he wants to feel like his words carry weight. He does not want to be dismissed, ignored, or made to feel like what he says does not matter. He wants to feel like he is an integral part of the relationship, that his contributions are seen, and that his perspective is valued. Respect and intimacy is just as important as respect in daily life. A man wants to feel desired, but he also wants to feel like his needs and boundaries are considered. He does not want to feel like he is just fulfilling an expectation. He wants to feel like his presence is cherished. Like the intimacy he shares with his partner is just as much about him as it is about them. When a man feels respected in this way, he gives more of himself. He becomes more vulnerable and he engages on a deeper level. Understanding is another crucial part of respect. A man wants to feel like his partner takes the time to truly understand who he is. He does not want to feel like he has to constantly explain himself, like his actions are being misinterpreted, like his intentions are always in question. He wants to feel like his partner knows him, trusts him, and believes in him. When a man feels understood, he becomes more open, more willing to share, more invested in the relationship. When a man feels emotionally connected, reassured, and respected, he thrives. He does not just go through the motions, he becomes more engaged, more loving, more present. He does not feel the need to hide parts of himself, to put up walls, to withdraw when things get difficult. He knows that he is in a relationship where he is valued for who he is, not just for what he can provide. Men may not always say these things out loud, but if you look closely, you will see it in the way they show up in their relationships. They want to feel close. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel like they are more than just a role they play. And when they have that, when they feel emotionally secure, appreciated, respected, everything else in the relationship falls into place. There is a common belief that men are simple when it comes to relationships and intimacy, that they do not need much beyond physical connection, and that they do not desire anything deeper. But the truth is, men want more than just passion. They want connection, reassurance, respect, and excitement. They may not always say it outright, but their actions reveal it. They want to feel emotionally connected to their partner in a way that goes beyond words, beyond routine, beyond what society assumes about them. Men grow up being taught that emotions are a weakness, that they should not express their feelings too openly, that their role in a relationship is to be the provider and protector rather than the vulnerable partner. But despite these lessons, they still crave emotional intimacy. They want to know that they can let their guard down without being judged. They want to feel safe enough to express themselves without fear of seeming weak. A man who feels emotionally connected to his partner is more engaged, more invested, and more willing to show love in ways that extend far beyond the physical. In intimacy, emotional connection is just as important as physical desire. It is not just about the act itself, it is about the feeling of closeness, the sense of being understood, the deep trust that makes passion feel effortless and real. A man who feels emotionally connected does not just seek out intimacy for the sake of it. He seeks it because it strengthens the bond he has with his partner. And when that connection fades, he may not always have the words to explain why he feels distant, but he will feel the shift deeply. Men also need reassurance, even if they do not always ask for it. Society paints a picture of men as always confident, always secure, always sure of themselves. But the reality is that they have just as many insecurities as anyone else. They wonder if they are still enough for their partner, if they are still attractive, if they are still wanted in the way they once were. They may not verbalize these doubts, but they feel them nonetheless. And like anyone else, they need to hear that they are valued, appreciated, and desired. A simple compliment, a genuine expression of gratitude, a touch that lingers just a little longer. These are the small moments that reassure a man that he is still wanted. He does not need grand declarations. He just needs to feel that he is more than just a fixture in the relationship, that he is still exciting, still admired, still the one you choose every day. When a man knows that he is wanted, he carries himself differently. He becomes more open, more affectionate, more engaged. He stops questioning whether he is enough because he feels it in the way his partner looks at him, touches him, and acknowledges him. Beyond emotional connection and reassurance, men also desire respect. Respect is one of the most powerful ways to make a man feel valued in a relationship. It is not about blind obedience or submission. It is about recognizing his efforts, acknowledging his strengths, and making him feel like his thoughts and feelings matter. A man who feels respected does not just feel good about himself. He feels good about the relationship. He stands taller. He gives more. He loves deeper. Men want to know that their opinions are heard, that their contributions are valued, that they are seen as an equal partner. They do not want to feel dismissed, belittled, or overlooked. They want to know that their efforts, whether big or small, are noticed and appreciated. When a man feels respected, he is more willing to open up, to share, to give the best of himself to the relationship. But when he feels like his voice does not matter, when he feels like his role in the relationship is taken for granted, he starts to pull away, not because he does not care, but because he no longer feels like he is an essential part of the partnership. Respect is not just about words. It is about actions. It is in the way you listen when he speaks, the way you acknowledge his efforts, the way you treat him as someone whose thoughts, emotions, and contributions matter. A man who feels respected is a man who feels deeply connected to his partner. And that connection strengthens every other part of the relationship. But while emotional connection, reassurance, and respect are essential, there is one more thing that men truly crave: excitement. Men do not want a relationship to become routine, to feel predictable, to lose the sense of adventure and passion that once made it thrilling. They want to feel excitement, spontaneity, and a sense of unpredictability in their intimacy. They do not want to fall into patterns where everything feels the same, where passion becomes a scheduled event rather than an expression of desire. Excitement does not mean constant surprises or grand gestures. It simply means keeping the relationship alive, keeping the spark from fading, keeping the connection fresh. A man wants to feel like his partner still looks at him with the same passion, still craves him the way they once did, still wants to explore new experiences together. He wants to know that intimacy is not just something to check off a list, but something that is truly desired. This desire for excitement is not just about physical intimacy, it extends to the relationship as a whole. Men want to laugh, to play, to experience new things together. They want to feel like the relationship is growing, evolving, and staying dynamic rather than becoming stagnant. They want to see that their partner is just as engaged, just as enthusiastic, just as willing to keep things fresh. Men may not always say these things out loud, but if you pay attention, you will see it in the way they respond to connection, to affirmation, to respect, and to excitement. They want to feel close. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel like they are still a source of passion and desire in the relationship. And when they have that, when they feel emotionally secure, appreciated, respected, and excited, everything else in the relationship thrives. There is a common idea that men are simple when it comes to relationships, that their needs revolve around physical intimacy and that they do not require much beyond that. But the truth is, men want more than just a physical connection. They want to feel loved, appreciated, understood, and desired in ways they may never openly express. Society conditions men to suppress their emotions, to appear strong at all times, and to avoid vulnerability. But deep down, they crave the same emotional security and deep connection that women do. A man wants to feel emotionally connected to his partner, to know that the relationship is about more than just companionship or routine. He wants to feel like he is truly seen and valued for who he is, not just for what he provides. Emotional intimacy is just as important to him as physical intimacy, even if he does not always know how to ask for it. When he feels emotionally safe in a relationship, he lets his guard down, he shares more, he engages more deeply. He wants to know that he is more than just a partner fulfilling responsibilities, that he is cherished, that his presence means something, that he is wanted in ways that go beyond words. Men also need reassurance, even if they do not always say so. There is a belief that men are always confident, always sure of themselves, but the truth is they have insecurities just like anyone else. They wonder if they are still enough, if they are still attractive, if they are still desired in the way they once were. They may not express these thoughts openly, but they feel them deeply. And just like anyone else, they need to hear that they are loved, appreciated, and wanted. A simple compliment, a kind word, a moment of affection. These small gestures carry so much weight. When a man feels reassured, when he knows that his efforts are noticed, he becomes more engaged, more affectionate, more confident. He stops questioning whether he is still valued because he feels it in the way his partner treats him. Respect is just as important as reassurance. A man wants to know that his thoughts, his opinions, and his presence are valued. He does not want to feel dismissed, belittled, or taken for granted. Respect is not about submission, it is about appreciation. It is about recognizing his efforts, about acknowledging his strengths, about making him feel like his role in the relationship truly matters. A man who feels respected does not just feel good about himself, he feels good about the relationship. He stands taller, he gives more, he loves deeper. When a man feels respected, he feels safe. He knows that he can express himself without fear of being ignored or ridiculed. He knows that his partner values his presence and trusts his judgment. And when he has that, he becomes more open, more willing to share, more deeply invested in making the relationship thrive. Beyond emotional connection, reassurance, and respect, men crave excitement in their relationships. They do not want love to become routine, to lose its spark, to feel like an obligation rather than an adventure. They want to feel passion, playfulness, and variety in their intimacy. They do not want to feel like intimacy is just another task on a list, like it has become predictable or mechanical. They want to feel the thrill of desire, the excitement of the unexpected, the sense that their partner still looks at them with the same hunger and attraction that once brought them together. Excitement does not have to mean grand Mercedes or constant surprises. It is about keeping the relationship alive, keeping the passion fresh, keeping the connection from becoming stagnant. A man wants to feel that his partner is still just as interested, still just as engaged, still just as willing to explore and connect in new ways. He wants to laugh, to play, to experience things that make the relationship feel dynamic rather than routine. He wants to feel like intimacy is not just something that happens out of habit, but something that is truly desired. And that desire is more important than many people realize. Men want to feel desire just as much as women do. They do not want to always be the one initiating intimacy, the one seeking out affection, the one making all the effort. They want to feel like their partner craves them, like they are wanted, like they are pursued. Always pursue, always take the lead in intimacy. But the truth is, men also want to be the ones who are chased. They want to feel that spark of attraction, that excitement of being wanted, that undeniable feeling of being the object of their partner's desire. When a man feels desired, he becomes more confident, more engaged, more willing to give of himself. He no longer feels like he is just fulfilling a role. He feels like he is an essential part of something passionate and alive. When a man knows that his partner still looks at him with hunger, still wants to be close to him, still finds him attractive, it changes everything. He feels energized, connected, secure in the relationship. He does not have to wonder if the spark is still there because he can feel it in the way his partner reaches for him, looks at him, and expresses their desire. Men may not always say these things out loud, but if you pay attention, you will see it in the way they respond to connection, to affirmation, to respect, to excitement, and to being desired. They want to feel close. They want to feel appreciated. They want to feel like they are more than just a role they play in the relationship. And when they have that, when they feel emotionally secure, reassured, respected, excited, and truly wanted, everything else in the relationship falls into place. There is a long-standing belief that men are simple, that their needs in a relationship revolve around physical connection, and that they do not crave deeper emotional bonds. But the truth is, men want more than what they are often given credit for. They want connection, appreciation, respect, excitement, and desire. They want to feel something real, something lasting, something that keeps them engaged and invested. They may not always say these things outright, but their actions reveal it. Men want to feel emotionally connected to their partner. They may not always be able to put it into words, but they crave the feeling of being understood, of being accepted for who they truly are. From an early age, men are taught to suppress emotions, to be strong, to avoid appearing vulnerable. Yet, despite these lessons, they still long for deep emotional intimacy. They want to know that they can open up without judgment, that they can express their fears, dreams, and insecurities without being dismissed. When a man feels emotionally connected, it transforms the entire relationship. He becomes more engaged, more present, more affectionate. He no longer sees intimacy as just a physical act, but as an extension of something deeper. Men also need reassurance, though they may not always ask for it. Society paints men as confident, self-assured, and unshaken by doubt, but the reality is that they have insecurities just like anyone else. They wonder if they are still enough, if they are still attractive, if they are still the person their partner desires. A man may never say, "I need to hear that you still want me," but he feels it all the same. The smallest gestures, a compliment, a touch, a moment of appreciation, carry enormous weight. These reassurances remind him that he is valued, that he is seen, that he is not taken for granted. When a man feels reassured, he stops questioning his place in the relationship. He feels more confident, more connected, more willing to give his best. Respect is another crucial part of what men need in a relationship. A man wants to know that his thoughts, his contributions, and his efforts are acknowledged. He wants to feel like his role in the relationship matters. Respect is not about submission. It is about appreciation. It is about recognizing his strengths, valuing his opinions, and treating him as an equal partner. A man who feels respected does not just feel good about himself, he feels good about the relationship. He feels secure, he feels needed, he feels like he has a purpose within the partnership. But when a man feels disrespected, dismissed, or belittled, he starts to pull away, not because he does not care, but because he no longer feels like an essential part of the dynamic. Respect is not just about words, it is about actions. It is in the way you listen when he speaks, in the way you acknowledge his efforts, in the way you show that his presence is meaningful. Beyond emotional connection, reassurance, and respect, men also crave excitement in their relationships. They do not want love to become routine, to feel like something predictable, to lose the passion that once made it thrilling. They want to feel desire, spontaneity, and adventure in their intimacy. They do not want to feel like intimacy is a scheduled event, something that happens out of habit rather than passion. They want to feel the thrill of being wanted, the excitement of unpredictability, the sense that their partner still craves them in a way that is undeniable. Excitement does not have to mean extravagant gestures or constant surprises. It simply means keeping the relationship alive, keeping the connection fresh, keeping the desire from fading into routine. A man wants to feel that his partner is still just as engaged, just as eager, just as interested in maintaining the spark. He wants to laugh, to play, to explore new experiences together. He wants to see that his partner still looks at him with the same passion, still finds him attractive, still wants to be close to him. When a man feels that excitement, it fuels every part of the relationship. He becomes more attentive, more affectionate, more willing to invest himself fully. And part of that excitement comes from feeling desired. Men do not want to always be the ones initiating, the ones seeking, the ones making all the effort. They want to feel wanted, pursued, craved. Society often tells men that they are supposed to chase, that they are the ones who should always make the first move. But deep down, men also want to be chased. They want to know that their partner still feels that spark, still finds them irresistible, still looks at them with. When a man feels desired, it changes everything. He no longer questions whether the passion is still there. He knows it. He sees it in the way his partner reaches for him, in the way they respond to his presence, in the way they make him feel like he is the only one in the room. This feeling of being truly wanted is what keeps a man engaged, what makes him feel confident, what deepens his connection to his partner. He does not want to feel like intimacy is something that just happens because it is expected. He wants to feel like it is something his partner truly desires, something they cannot wait to experience with him. Men also appreciate vulnerability and openness from their partner. There is a misconception that men only want strong, independent partners who never need support. But the truth is, men crave deep emotional intimacy just as much as women do. They want to feel like their partner trusts them enough to be open, to be real, to let down their guard. A man wants to know that he is not just someone to rely on, but someone who is relied upon in a meaningful way. He does not want his partner to hide their feelings, to pretend everything is fine when it is not, to shut him out when things get tough. He wants to be let in. He wants to share in the highs and the lows, to be a part of the journey, to feel like he is not just an observer, but an essential part of his partner's life. When a woman is open with a man, when she lets him see her vulnerabilities, it creates an unbreakable bond. It tells him that he is trusted, that he is valued, that his presence is more than just convenient, it is necessary. It allows him to step up, to be supportive, to show his love in ways that go beyond words. A relationship built on mutual openness and trust is one that thrives. It is one where both partners feel seen, heard, and truly understood. Men may not always voice these desires openly, but if you pay attention, you will see them in the way they respond to emotional connection, to reassurance, to respect, to excitement, to desire, and to vulnerability. They want to feel close. They want to feel appreciated. They want to feel like they are more than just a role they play in the relationship. And when they have all these things, when they feel emotionally secure, reassured, respected, excited, desired, and trusted, everything else in the relationship flourishes.